Right, hello and welcome to episode 11 of the Austin 7 special build. And in this episode, we're going to be starting the boat tail. Now this is part of the build that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and finally I get to start it. So, now I'm fully inspired from my trip to Prescott at the weekend. Now is a good time to start it. So, there's lots to do. It's quite a complex panel. There's a large radius here and it flows all the way down to a point. So quite a complex panel to do and limited by the English wheel there. And when I say limited, that's because that's quite a small English wheel and that's quite a large panel. So I'm going to have to make this in a way that I can get it into there and make it consistent and do a nice job. So I'm going to talk to you about the different techniques that I'm going to be using, the different anvils, and just stuff like that. I'm going to try and cram it full of information. But if I do miss anything out, please leave me a comment at the end and I'll try my best to get back to you. So, lots to do, lots to crack on with, and I should make a start. Okay, so like I have done on all the other panels, I've made a paper template. Now this one I'm not using for accuracy. This is literally just a template so I can cut out a blank and leave a little bit of excess on, and that is pretty much all it's going to be used for. Because I haven't got any sort of structure here, unlike an ash frame, I'm literally cutting out a blank and I'm going to basically shape it and create it and modify that shape as I go along. So hence why I haven't got any accurate datum points on that pattern. So this is how I start off all my panels, and I think it's just a good way to go. And that is it. So I'll transfer this onto the aluminium and get it cut out. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do now is start adding some shape into this panel. On here I've got a rubber band. Now some of you may be familiar with this process, others may not have seen it. I'm pretty new to it myself. So let me try and explain the best I can, and very briefly without overcomplicating it. The rubber band allows you to form metal in one direction. An English wheel without the rubber band on basically allows you to shape metal in two directions, creating a compound curve. And yes, I do want a compound curve all the way through there. I want that to be nice and shapely throughout. But what I'm trying to do at the moment is just tip this edge over. Because I don't have anything through there, what I want to do is gradually tip that over and eyeball it on the car and keep offering it up. So having the rubber band on there allows me to just form the metal to basically whatever radius anvil I've got here. I've got an 8-inch radius there, and I may even drop down to, I think there's a 6 or something in there as well. I'll talk you through them later on. So it allows me to just start tipping this edge over, but when I start putting the panel through, what I don't want it to do just yet is start tipping over at the back. I'll introduce that of my own accord later on, once I start adding shape all through this panel. But when I do that, I won't have the rubber band on. So the rubber band on allows you to form it in one direction. Having the rubber band off allows you to create a compound curve in both directions. Hopefully you can kind of get wind of what I'm trying to explain there. I'm not very good at explaining stuff like this, so I'll just show you instead. Okay, so let me talk you through my anvil setup here and the difference between flats and radius anvils. So like I said, these are my flats, my fully radius anvils. These are my spares just in case I want to machine anything up that's unique, and these are for my bench top wheel. So the flats basically get their name because the contact patch through the middle is flat. It's not technically true, but I'm not going to go into loads of detail. That's quite specific, but you have a larger contact patch through the middle, and then either side of the flat area, it runs off to your shoulder, and these are the bits that don't touch the panel. This is just clearance. But basically, you have a larger contact patch in the middle. Your fully radius Anvils are basically that. It's a fully radius all the way through. So this is a 12-inch radius, and your contact patch is just the very fine contact point in the middle of the anvil. So the best way to explain this is just with this sample piece here. So this is my largest contact patch with the flats, and this is my largest contact patch here with the fully radius Anvils. So they both have their own unique jobs to do. These are great on larger panels with not as sharp a radius in them. These are great for basically the side of the boat tail that I'm making, but then I will blend them in with this. So through this job, I will be using both sets. Some people just use these, some people use these. This is a big debate, I suppose, within wheeling, and yeah, people have pros and cons for both. Now, I'm very open-minded with this, and I don't mind, and I will use both sets. Don't have a problem with it, but I just thought I'd explain that in a very brief summary of flats versus radius wheels. Right, so just offering it up. I probably have got a bit too much excess material there, hence why that's just kicking up. So I could do with trimming that down, but I may do that in a bit. I've started putting the shape in here and blending it. So this is coming along okay. I do want to add a bit more, but it's better to do that in stages. It's easier to add shape rather than to try and lose it once it's in the panel. It's just sticking away from the, kicking off from the frame here. So that needs to come over a bit more. And of course I need to put this sharp radius in and blend it, starting from this point here. So what I'm going to do now is knock that over to give me a reference point. And then I'm going to go onto the bench top wheel. I haven't used that very much actually, but it's going to be perfect for this. So little small anvils, and I can get into, well, create a really tight radius, and I'm just going to blend that out into the larger radius. So I'm going to do that, and then that will then add a bit of strength in this area, then I'll just be able to build my shape into it. So in stages, hopefully that makes sense. Sorry there's not a load of talking and commentary basically. As I'm wheeling, I kind of go into autopilot once I get on the wheel and give it my full attention, and then forget to talk. So I shall try and just do little stages like this and keep you up to speed on what I'm doing. Okay, so I just want to give a huge shout out to Charles, Edward, Hugh and Anthony, who've all gone over to the paint pot this week and left me a donation. So thank you, I really do appreciate that. And also Simon, who purchased a slapper off the back of the last video. Simon's got a channel where he's building a Brooklands Riley special at the moment on his channel. He's learning metalwork as he progresses, and hopefully this will help him out on his quest to build that body that he's doing. So thank you to everyone that's donated so far. I really do appreciate it. I'm already talking to someone about different colour choices, how we're going to finish the inside, different finishes on the outside. Do I want it gloss? Do I want it a matte effect? So lots to think about, lots to get my head around, and it is completely pickled at the moment. I don't know what way I'm going to go with it. So thank you to everyone that's donated so far, and I'll leave a link in the description if anyone else would like to help out on the channel. So cheers, guys. Right, okay, so I've started tipping that over. Hopefully on the camera that shows from a point gradually coming up into the radius. What that's done though, once I've started tipping that panel over, it's then straightened back out. So now I just need to shrink this edge a little bit. So if I just go like that, you can just see it flexing out here. So I just need to add a few shrinks along there just to encourage it down. Wheel a bit of shape through here, that'll also help tip it down. I want it touching on the top there and at the bottom there. So I've got to bring it down a good couple of inches yet. So plenty to do, plenty of shaping to put in there. It's a little bit flat through here, but once we've got this shape through the sides and I'm happy with it, I'll start bringing this up and just blending it into the sides and making it a bit fuller. It's very subtle, but it's one of them shapes, if it's not right, it'll be obvious, and if it looks all right, then it's spot on. Yeah, tricky little panel, but lots to do. Okay, so I've got to a stage now on the panel where I just need to refine it a little bit more. Like I said at the beginning, I'm literally just developing this shape out of thin air. So I'll take this so far, and then as I make the other side and then bring the two together, it will be tweaked along the way. So I'll get this again, kind of like 90% there. With this panel, I've just got to bring it down about another 10 mil to just sit on top of the frame there, so there's no tension up here. But what I like to do, because I want this panel to have a little bit of shape all the way through, I don't want any flat areas. So very simply, a straight edge, just for reference. And as long as it just rocks. And here, it's sitting flat on the material. Even though it looks shaped, that area there, and along here, to this part here. So this area here, even though it looks like it's got a bit of crown to it, actually needs a little bit more pulling in. And I think adding a little bit more crown here will then just help the whole panel just sit a bit nicer on the frame. So that's what I'm going to do, and then I think that's pretty close for the moment, and then I'll start the other side and then start the whole process of joining it all up and getting it somewhere symmetrical. So that's as far as I'm going to take the first side. Best thing to do now is make the other side, get the two together, marked out, joined and welded, and then we can tweak the shape as we go. But so far so good, I'm pretty happy with it, but all I've got to do now is make the other side. Well, that one went a bit easier. Right, okay, so what I've done so far is clean up one side along the side and use a laser level and get a central point all the way through and cut it to that line so it's pretty much cock on all the way through. So that is my datum panel, my reference panel. So then what I do is get this into place. I've used the Cleco to hold it in place there, and I clamp down the bottom where I want it to be. And then I can then scribe along the central line there, and then that will make a perfect match when I basically cut it and put the two together. So I know that they're going to be exactly in the spot I want them to be, especially with the Cleco, that just locates it into position there. So this can't move anywhere, so without drilling loads of holes, it's a good way of just getting your panel into position. I do need to add some shape through here, but that will be a lot easier to do once the panel is all welded together, and then I can just dress this area or raise this area up in the wheel. But so far so good. I'm happy with the shape at the moment. Nothing's jumping out at me that needs changing. Okay, I'm getting ready to weld this up now. So I've got these interesting little fixings here. They're called grippers. And I put a story on my Instagram where I was making these little Clico tabs with my cutter out the back. And a chap got in contact and sent me some of these. And they're from Ben's Metal Shaping. And I thought I'd give them a go on here. So you drill a tiny little hole to the side, put the fixing through, and it holds the panel level. So far so good. And it's really strong. So I'm just going to get some tacks in place now. Then I'll be able to remove the clamps, remove these fixings, get it welded up. Right, okay, so that's all welded up now. It's gone quite nicely, can't really complain. Loads of penetration through the back. So what I'm now going to do is grind the top of the weld off and then grind off the penetration and then start the dressing up process. Just hammering it flat, running it through the wheel to get some of this shape back into it because it has sank through here a little bit. That's probably going to be, I don't know, an hour or so's work, maybe a little bit longer. Get that looking nice, and then that should be it. Fingers crossed. Right, so what I'm going to do now is just file the top of the edge, or file the top of the weld off, and this will just show me if there's any highs or lows, and then I can then just go along with the hammer, lift up the low spots, and yeah, go from there. Then once it's ready, I'll just run the sander across it, and that'll be okay for the moment. I'll leave it there then. Right, okay, that brings us to the end of the episode. I think it's gone pretty well. It's the effect I was after. It looks right, the proportion wise. I've just got to blend it in a little bit more on the sides, a little bit of dressing up to do, but I'll blend that in once I've made the side panels and got it all welded together. In the next episode, I'll be making the bottom section, the side panels, and we'll just see where it takes us. I haven't got a set plan. It's just going to naturally just flow. If you're wondering about the tape on here, me and Rory the other night were looking at the head pod design. I was adamant that it needed to go off in a slightly different angle, but Rory, who's been in the trade long enough, knows what he's on about too, and came up with a really good suggestion, and it works much nicer on the tail here. So we're definitely going to go down Rory's approach on that. What else is there? Go check out Simon's channel at SW Creations. Obviously, there's a little bit in the video of him over. He's sorted out all the gearbox and the clutch issues which we had in episode 8, I think, when we was driving in the field. That's all been sorted now. Simon's got all the footage of that, of him repairing that, and we go for a little drive around the yard. So yeah, if you want to check that out, head over to Simon's channel. And that is pretty much it. If you want to see little sneak peeks of as I'm progressing, I normally put something up on Instagram, such as Metal Shaper Tom over on Instagram. And I think finally that is everything. So I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.